introduction on thermodynamics, which is about thermal expansion. So one of the effects of heat is thermal expansion. When we say thermal expansion, it only means that when an object is heated, it will tend to expand. Tama, no? When an object is heated, it will tend to expand. When an object is cooled, it will tend to contract. So that is what thermal expansion is all about. And so we have also described one property of an object in terms of its ability to expand, and we call that property as the coefficient of expansion. Tama, no? So iba-ibang objects, meron silang iba-ibang coefficients. So it is constant to that particular object. It is unique to that particular object. Now, another effects of heat, which will be discussed for this afternoon. So we will only have major topics, two major topics for this afternoon, which is about change in temperature. So one of the effect is the change of temperature. Of course, when you add heat, the temperature will change. Tama, no? So kapag magpa-init ka, of course, the temperature of that water, for example, will change. Or if you want to put that object in a refrigerator, of course, the temperature will change. No? It's direct to the point. That when you add or remove heat, it will change its temperature. So our first subtopic for this afternoon will be about change of temperature. Change of temperature, and then we are going to describe a property of an object in terms of its ability to change in temperature, to change its temperature. So for example, bakit ba may ibang object na napakabilis uminit, meron ding ibang objects na napakabilis lumamig? Okay, for example, if you want to put an aluminum can, for example, and a wood, for example, you put that or you put them under the heat of the sun, painitan mo under the heat of the sun. Even though pareho lang sila under the heat of the sun, experience would tell us na aluminum will be hotter afterwards. Tama, no? Mas mataas or mas mainit yung aluminum after some time. Bakit kaya? What is that property of aluminum? Bakit napakabilis niya mag-change ng temperature? Do you follow? Or if you want to put different objects inside a refrigerator, for example, a glass, and then ang isa aluminum can, for example, you want to you will put them inside the refrigerator. So even though pareho lang naman sila na nasa loob ng refrigerator, but one of them is colder than the other. Tama, no? So mayroong ibang mga object na napakabilis uminit, mayroon ding ibang object na napakabagal uminit. Okay, so we will talk about that property, and that is what we call the specific heat. So we will talk about specific heat later. Yan. And then our second topic will be about change of phase. So we'll talk about the changes of phase from liquid to solid, or solid to liquid to gas, gas to liquid, etc. Change of phase, and that is what we call a particular property is the latent heat. Yan. So these are the objectives for this afternoon. We'll talk about specific heat. We'll describe an object in terms of its specific heat, and then we will talk about latent heat later. So you already know the definition of temperature, tama? So when we talk about temperature, it is the average molecular kinetic energy. So it is just related to the motion, it is just related to the collision, it is just related to the vibrations of the molecules or of the atoms in a particular object. So kapag sinabi natin na napakataas ng temperature, ang ibig sabihin lang nun, the vibrations of the atoms of the molecules are very fast. Tama? They are colliding, they are vibrating very fast. Now, when we talk about low temperature, when we talk about coldness, kapag malamig, ang ibig sabihin lang nun that the molecules are moving, are vibrating, are colliding very slow. Tama, no? Slow. Napakabagal ng kanilang motion. So that is temperature. And of course, when you add heat, mag-change na talaga ang temperature. Tama, no? Mag-change yung temperature. Now, as I've told you, iba-ibang objects, iba-iba ang kanilang tendency to change temperature. May ibang object na napakabilis mag-change, may ibang object na napakabagal mag-change ng temperature. For example, during daytime, kapag nasa beach, bakit kaya during daytime, nasa beach ka, naliligo ka, for example, bakit kaya during daytime napakainit ng sand compared sa water? So why is sand warmer during the day compared sa seawater, ha? However, during nighttime, bakit kaya during nighttime kapag ka nagna-night swimming tayo, bakit kaya mas mainit na ngayon si water compared sa sand, tama no? Or si swimming pool compared sa outside. 'Di ba? Napansin niyo na? That is why during nighttime, kapag ka nagna-night swimming tayo, uh, mas pipiliin natin na magstay na lang sa water. Magstay na lang sa water during nighttime kasi nga warmer ang water during nighttime. Bakit kaya? What's the reason behind? Bakit kaya iba-ibang objects, iba-iba sila ng tendency to change their temperature? And as I've told you, that is because of their property, the property known as the specific heat. So when we talk about specific heat, it is the ability or the property of that object to change its temperature. Gaano ba siya kabilis mag-change ng temperature? Gaano ba siya kabilis maglamig? Gaano ba siya kabilis mag-init? So that is specific heat. So by definition in physics, specific heat is the amount of heat needed, take note, to change the temperature. So kapag marinig mo ang change of temperature, so ang isa-isip talaga natin, it is talking about specific heat. For example, kung sa thermal expansion, kapag maririnig natin, bakit ba mag-expand ang isang object more than the other? So ang property na tatandaan natin, yung coefficient. Tama, no? Coefficient of thermal expansion, linear, area, and volume expansion. So the same is also true. Kapag ang pinag-uusapan natin is, the change in temperature, that property is about the specific heat of our object. So it is the amount of heat needed to change the temperature of a substance by 1 Celsius degree. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng 1 Celsius degree? What is the difference between 1 degree Celsius and 1 Celsius degree? Sir, baka nagtatypo lang. Hindi yan siya typo. So there is a very big difference between degree Celsius and Celsius degree. So for example, kinsa may mag-nurse dire. For example, si Ana. Si Ana, mag-nurse si Ana. Excuse me. Mag-nurse si Ana and then gusto niya na nagpakuha sa og temperature. Si Mikael nagpakuha og temperature. So of course, Ana will get a thermometer, tama no? And will take the temperature of Mikael. Okay? So for example, gikuha niya ang temperature and the temperature of Mikael according to the reading in the thermometer, it is 37 degrees Celsius. So nauna yung degree. What does it mean? It means it is from an actual measurement process. Okay? It is an actual measurement from the measurement process. So galing sa reading sa thermometer. Okay? So it's 37 degrees Celsius. Now what if si Lance, for example, na gikalintura siya? Huwag naman sana ayo sa kalintura karon nga panahon kay kulba kay kalinturahon karon nga panahon. For example, ato na po siya kay Ana. Nagpakuha na po siya temperature because feeling niya feverish siya, for example. So Ana get a thermometer and take the temperature of Mikael. So nakuha niya ng temperature is 38 degrees Celsius. It is degrees Celsius because it is an actual measurement. Galing siya sa measurement ni Ana. Galing siya sa reading ng thermometer. Do you follow? Good. Now, what if I am going to ask Ana? So what is the difference in the temperature, Ana? Ang sasabihin ni Ana, the difference is, of course, 1. This time, it is Celsius degree. Do you follow? So when we say Celsius degree, it is talking about the difference, yung difference ng temperature. So kapag sinabi mo 1 Celsius degree, it could be 99 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. That's 1 Celsius degree. There is a difference of 1 Celsius degree. Or it could also be 0 degrees Celsius to 1 degree Celsius. That is still 1 Celsius degree. Or 33 degrees Celsius and 32 degrees Celsius. So that's 1 Celsius degree. Do you follow? It is talking about the difference. So kapag sinabi nating 1 degree Celsius, alam natin na napakalamig niyan. Tama, no? 1 degree Celsius is an actual measurement galing sa thermometer, so malamig, close to freezing point. Tama, no? Pero kapag sinabi nating 1 Celsius degree, hindi natin alam kung gaano yan kainit. Okay, hindi natin alam kung gaano yan kainit or gaano yan kalamig. Ang alam lang natin is that there is a difference. And that difference is 1 Celsius degree, 1 increment. Okay? So, nakuha ang difference. I hope nakuha na yung difference. Now, in equation form, change of temperature is derived into H is equal to mass times mc delta T or MCAT. MCAT yung pagbasa para mas madali na lang ma-remember. So H is heat. Yan. It could be heat that is added or heat that is removed. Okay, so pwede kasi mag-add ka ng heat. For example, when you want to boil water, so ano ang gagawin mo para mag-boil ka ng water? So ang gagawin mo, you add heat. Tama, no? Magdadagdag ka ng heat. So ibig sabihin, si water mag-a-absorb. Tama, no? I-absorb ni water ang heat. Okay, para mag-boil ka ng water, para magtaas ang kanyang temperature. So in that case, heat is absorbed, heat is added, so ibig sabihin, heat is positive. Do you follow? Do you follow? Heat is positive in that case. Nagdadagdag ka ng heat. Ibig sabihin, nag-absorb ng heat ang isang object na gi-heat natin. Okay? Or it could also be negative. Pwede din negative yung heat natin. For example, if you want to put the water inside a refrigerator, okay? So ano ang ginagawa ng refrigerator? So gina-remove ni refrigerator ang heat from that water, okay? So ang ginagawa ni water, nag-release siya og heat, nag-release. Okay, nawalaan siya og heat. That is why magbugnaw siya. Do you follow? So in that case, heat is negative. Nakuha? So heat can be positive, it could also be negative. So when we talk about positive heat, it is added to the system, or the system, meaning the system absorbs heat, nag-absorb siya. In chemistry, that is known as what process? That is known as the endothermic process. Okay, na-encounter na nga term? Endothermic process. So when we talk about endothermic process, nag-add ka og heat. Okay, giinit nimo. Giinit. So that means ang object, if this is an object, so giinit na ako. So didagdagan ako siya og heat. So from the point of view of the object, siya ang nag-absorb sa heat, siya ang nag-receive sa heat. Do you follow? Nag-absorb siya og heat. So that's endothermic. Okay? Or it could also be negative in chemistry, that is known as the exothermic process. Exothermic process. Meaning, ginatanggalan ako siya og heat, gina-remove na ko ang heat sa iya, gina-remove na ko ang heat. So that means from the perspective of the object, siya ang nag-release og heat. Nag-release og heat. Okay? So that means mubugnaw siya. Exothermic. Nakuha? So that's heat. It could be positive, it could also be negative. Now M is the mass of our object. Katong giinit na tong object. For example, kani atong giinit. So unsa ang mass ani niya? Now, C is the specific heat. Specific heat, as I've told you, is the property of that particular material, particular object. So it's about the type of material. Anong klaseng material ba ito? So that is specific heat. And next is the delta T. That is change of temperature. And change of temperature. So change of temperature could be positive. So pwede siya magtaas ang temperature. Pwede po magbaba ang temperature. So depende siya sa situation. Just always remember na it is always final temperature minus initial temperature. Okay? So that means kung mas dako ang final temperature, mas niinit, so the heat will be positive. Tama, no? So when we talk about positive heat, it increases the temperature. Mag-increase ang temperature. However, if Final temperature is lower. Ibig sabihin, naglamig. Okay, naglamig yung ating object. So, mas mababa ang final. So, magiging negative ito. So, that means heat will also be negative. So, when we talk about negative heat, it decreases the temperature. Magbaba yung temperature ng ating object. Nakuha? Ayan, so that is, those are the variables in our equation. Now, how about specific heat? Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng specific heat? That letter C is the specific heat. So if we want to derive specific heat, i-derive natin yung specific heat natin. So we will just divide both sides by M delta T. Tama, no? Mag-divide lang tag M delta T. So that means C is equal to H over M delta T. Okay? So that's the equation for the specific heat. So ano na ngayon ang definition ng specific heat using this equation? Specific heat is the heat needed. Ayan, it is the heat needed. It is the heat needed to change the temperature. Ayun, to change the temperature of a substance. Ayan, no, di ba? So that definition is only based on the formula. Okay, galing lang yan siya sa equation. So specific heat is the heat needed to change the temperature of a given substance. Nakuha? Ayun. I hope naga-make sense na siya karon. Now, what is the unit of specific heat? Ano ba ngayon ang unit ng specific heat? So, heat could be joules, di ba? Heat could be in joules, or it could also be in calories. Tama, no? Joules, or it could also be in calories. Ang mass could be in kilograms or grams, either of the two. Ang change of temperature is the Celsius degree. Tama? Nakuha na? Celsius degree. So those are the units. So ano ngayon ang unit ng specific heat? So ang unit ngayon ng specific heat is H. Heat is joules. It could be joules per mass, kilogram, Celsius degree. So that's one of the units sa specific heat. Or pwede din siya, calories ang heat. Calories si heat per mass is grams, Celsius degree. Pwede yan. Okay? Or pwede din na joules ang heat over grams, Celsius degree. So any of the three could be a unit of specific heat. Nakuha? So kahit saan dyan, pwede gagamitin ko joules, calories, or grams. Depende siya sa unit. As long as you are consistent with the units na gagamitin natin. Nakuha? Question so far? Kindly react thumbs up or kindly react thumbs up if ever nakuha na yung concept so far.
Sir, ang unit lang sa temperature kay Celsius degree.
Standard. Lance, standard.
Okay,
Celsius
sir.
degree, yun kasi yung standard na ginagamit natin. Or pwede din, sometimes in scientific community, ang ginagamit kay Kelvin. But Kelvin and degree Celsius, pareho lang naman sila. Nang change ha, nang change. For example, Lance, ang initial temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. Ang final temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. So that means the change is 10 Celsius degree. Tama? So if we want to convert that into Kelvin, so 10, convert natin into Kelvin, di ba? Kuan man to, Celsius plus 273.15 or 273, pwede na 273. So this is 283. Tama, no? 283 Kelvin. Ang 20, this is equivalent to 293 Kelvin. So the difference is just the same, 10 Kelvin. So the value is just the same. So pareho lang siya if it is Kelvin or Celsius degree. Pareho lang ang difference. Okay? So standard yung ginagamit natin. Hindi tayo gagamit ng Fahrenheit at saka Rankine. Standard man. Okay, so Celsius degree tayo or Kelvin. Pareho lang man sila. 10 ug 10. Any change sa degree Celsius, pareho po sa change sa Kelvin. Okay? Ayun. So yun ang gagamitin natin na units. Kuha na? Nakuha na ang concept? Okay, now proceed tayo ngayon sa relationships. Kasi yun ang pinaka-importante. Alam natin yung mga relationships ng mga variables in the equation. Di ba no? Sana may pag variables na sa equation, may pang variables kaya na relationship. Ang uban kay ko lang, MU, wag gipansin. Okay, so proceed tayo ngayon sa relationships ng mga variables in our equation para alam natin what is the meaning of that equation. How is that equation related to what we experience in real life? For example, what is the relationship between heat and mass? Yan. Ano ang relationship nila? Paano namin titingnan, sir, ang relationship ng variables? So una, first, look at the placement. Saan ba siya? Sa numerator or denominator? So silang dalawa pareho sa numerator. Tama, no? Pareho sila sa numerator. Second, if it is in the opposite side. Okay, so ito yung bridge natin. So silang dalawa, opposite sides of the equations, opposite sides, and then both of them are in the numerator. Pareho sila na nasa numerator. Okay, so that means the relationship is direct. Ayan. Directly related. Okay, ano ibig sabihin ng directly related? So for example, kapag malaki yung mass, ibig sabihin malaki din yung heat na kailangan. Okay? Kapag maliit ang mass, ibig sabihin maliit din yung heat na kailangan. For example, experience would tell us na for example lang ha, meron akong 1 cup of water na then ang isa kay 1 pail of water. Na. Okay? Water ang sulod ani ha. Now if I want to boil these water for example, dito hanggang 100 degrees Celsius, of course, kay gi-boil god. Kani pud sa pikas 100 degrees Celsius. Ano yung mas mabilis mag-boil, ang 1 cup or kaning 1 pail? Of course, common sense would tell us or experience would tell us na napakadali lang mag-boil ng 1 cup of water. Do you follow? Napakadali. Bakit? Kasi nga, smaller mass, maliit lang yung mass niya, ibig sabihin, maliit lang yung heat na kailangan niya. Do you follow? Maliit ang mass, maliit din yung heat na kailangan. That's direct proportionality. In this situation here, napakatagal niya mag-boil, napakatagal niya mag-change ng temperature kasi nga, napakalaki ng mass, ibig sabihin, napakalaki ng heat na kailangan niya in order to change the temperature. Do you follow? So, di ba? That's experience. Sir, maskin man ang elementary, kabaluan. At least we know the formula, we know the relationship. So that's physics. We want to convert our experience into equation form. Diba? So that's direct to the point. Na kapag maliit lang yung i-boil natin, kaunting heat lang ang kailangan niya. Okay, so that's the meaning of direct proportionality between heat and mass. Now, how about heat and change of temperature? Heat and change in temperature. Dito. The relationship between heat and change in temperature. So if you notice, they are also in the opposite sides of the equation, magkabilang mundo. Pero silang dalawa nasa numerator pareho. Pareho silang nasa numerator sa kabilang mundo. So that means the relationship is direct. Direct pa din. Anong ibig sabihin yan, sir? Ibig sabihin na kapag gusto mong mas mainit, hindi kailangan mo ng mas maraming heat. Tama, no? Kung gusto mo mas mainit, kailangan mo ng mas maraming heat. That's common experience. Kasi for example, meron kang 2 cups of water. 2 cups of water, yan. Same sila ng mass. 2 cups of water. Ang isa, from 30 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius, sila pareho. Yung isa gusto mo lang initin hanggang 50 degrees Celsius. Yung isa gusto mo siyang initin hanggang 100 degrees Celsius. Ano yung mas mabilis? Di ba no? Kahit elementary na student, alam na mas mabilis ang 50 to 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. Tama? Mas 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 madali. Okay? Bakit kaya? That's because of their relationship. So for example, dito this is 20 Celsius degree ang difference. Dito this is 70 Celsius degree ang difference. So ibig sabihin maliit na change, mas maliit na change, ibig sabihin, mas maliit na heat ang kailangan for a small change in temperature. Direct proportionality. Yes, Mark? You're raising your hand?
Sir, may tanaw po ko, sir, ba? Sir, ka sa tubig, good, sir. Kung mag-init yan siya, sir, hanggang 100 degrees, sir, hindi na siya mag-broadcast.
Dili na po maklaro imuhang question mark. I-type lang daw Mark kay murag karat ang imong tingog.
Karat, sir, karat.
Sige, aka na. Okay na. Sige daw.
Sir, yung water, sir, ba kung i-boil mo, sir, ay kung mag-heat siya, sir, hanggang 100 degrees lang siya tama, sir. Hindi na siya pwede malagpas.
Very good question. So hanggang 100 degrees lang ba yung water natin? I will answer that later, Mark, kapag pag-abot na natin ng change of phase. Okay, reserve natin yung question ni Mark pagdating natin sa next natin na lesson. Hindi ko muna sasagutin ngayon, Mark, ha? Later na pag-abot na to sa change of phase. Okay, thank you for that question. I-reserve na to na later sa change of phase. Okay, so dito, napakalaki ng change ng ating temperature. Tama? Napakalaki ng change ng ating temperature. So, ibig sabihin, since malaki yung change ng ating temperature, mas malaki din yung heat na kailangan natin. Okay, so that's the meaning of direct proportionality. Nakuha? Pareho sila. Pareho ang mangyayari sa kanila. Di ba? Pati elementary na, kabalo. Kailangan pag ibutang sa equation, sir? Yes, kailangan ibutang sa equation. And take note, this equation can explain different phenomena, natural phenomena. Later, pakita ko sa inyo. Now, ang pinaka-importante dito sa variables na yan is the relationship between the specific heat. Yan. Ano ang relationship ng specific heat? Wait lang ha. Ano ang relationship ng specific heat at saka ng change of temperature? Yan. Ano ang relationship nila? Remember, specific heat is the property of a particular object. So ano ang relationship ng specific heat at saka ng change of temperature? Pareho sila ng side of the equation. Pareho din sila na numerator, but they're in the same side. So ang relationship nila is what?
Inverse.
Okay, very good, Joanna. It is inverse. Di ba? Ano ang ibig sabihin ng inverse proportionality, Joanna?
Magtaas po ang specific, change of temperature po.
Pag mataas ang specific heat, magbaba ang change of temperature. Kapag mababa ang specific heat,
magtaas po ang specific. Ano po yan, sir?
Kapag mataas ang specific heat, ano yung change of temperature?
Magbaba po.
Magbaba. Very good. Mas mababa. Kapag maliit yung specific heat, ano yung change of temperature?
Magtaas po.
Okay, very good. So that's the meaning of inverse proportionality. Take note of that, ha? Importante masyado yan later sa ating discussion. So they are inversely proportional. Ang ibig sabihin nun, kapag maliit ang specific heat, napakabilis uminit. Okay? Yun ang ibig sabihin sa particular object natin. Kapag ang object natin maliit ang specific heat, ibig sabihin napakabilis uminit. There is a very high change in temperature. Okay? Now, kapag malaki ang ating specific heat, ang ibig sabihin lang nun, napakabagal niya uminit. There is only a small change of temperature. Do you follow? Now, as I've told you, the specific heat is a unique property to a particular object. Tama? So, ibig sabihin, different objects, ayan, different materials have different specific heats. So kindly take note na lang of these values dito, ito. Kasi most of the time, ito yung gagamitin natin sa ating discussion. Ayan. Pwede din ito. Okay, I already explained kung bakit Kelvin ito, dito degree, Celsius degree, pareho lang yan sila ha. So pwede din yan Celsius degree, pareho lang. Pareho lang naman sila ng difference. Okay, so different materials have different specific heats. Now remember, specific heat is the amount of heat needed to change the temperature. So anong ibig sabihin nun, sir? For example, let us try to compare aluminum and water. Compare natin si aluminum and si water. The specific heat of aluminum is 0.215 calories per gram Celsius degree. Anong ibig sabihin nun? How much heat is needed para mag-change ang temperature ni aluminum? Ang kailangan niya is 0.215 calories lang. Do you follow? So if ever you have 0.215 calories of heat, then the aluminum will change its temperature. Do you follow? Ayan, so yun lang ang heat na kailangan niya to change its temperature. Nakuha? Now, how about water? The specific heat of water is 1.000 calories per gram Celsius degree. So, ibig sabihin, how much heat is needed para mag-change ang temperature ni water? Ang kailangan niya is 1 calorie. Do you follow? So, si aluminum, ang kailangan lang niya is 0.215 calories. Pero si water, mas malaki yung kailangan niya ng heat para mag-change ang kanyang temperature, which is 1 calorie. Do you follow? So, ibig sabihin nito, for example, if I am going to put these materials under the heat of the sun, for example, ibutang na ko si aluminum o si water under the heat of the sun. After some time, which will have the higher temperature? Ano yung mas mainit? Yung aluminum or yung water? Anyone?
Aluminum.
Yes, Aichi?
Aluminum.
Bakit
Aluminum.
aluminum? Bakit aluminum, Aichi?
Mas dali siya mag-init, sir. Kasi, maliit yung kanyang specific heat.
Very good. Very good.
Mataas ang kanyang change of temperature.
Very good. Okay? So, kasi nga, kaunting heat lang, mag-change na ang kanyang temperature. So that's the meaning of inverse proportionality as mentioned kanina ni Joanna. So ang ibig sabihin nun, kapag maliit yung specific heat, napakabilis mag-change ng temperature. Dito, mas malaki yung specific heat, so ibig sabihin, kaunting change of temperature. Do you follow? That is why experience would tell us na kapag ilalagay natin yung aluminum at saka water under the heat of the sun, after some time, aluminum will be hotter than the water. Do you follow? Because of the inverse proportionality between specific heat and change in temperature. I hope I am making sense. Okay na? Okay. Now this time, instead of putting it under the heat of the sun, ilalagay natin sila sa refrigerator. Okay? Ilalagay natin sa refrigerator si aluminum at saka si water. So ilalagay ko sa refrigerator si aluminum, ilalagay ko din sa refrigerator si water. After some time, which will be colder? Ano yung mas malamig? Si aluminum or si water? Anyone? Ano yung mas malamig after some time?
Aluminum.
Yes, Joanna?
Aluminum pa rin, sir.
Aluminum pa din. Okay, very good. Kasi nga, mas mabilis siya din mag-change ng temperature. So when we talk about change, pwede sa mas mabilis uminit mas mabilis din siya maglamig. Do you follow? So, ibig sabihin lang nito, kung ano yung object na mabilis uminit, sabi yung object na mabilis lumamig. Okay? Kung kisa tong dali kay ma-hot, siya po to dali kay ma-cold. That's the meaning of specific heat. I hope I am making myself clear. Okay? So let's have another example. What if we are going to compare? What if we are going to compare glass made of Pyrex, and aluminum? Glass made of Pyrex and aluminum. Ito silang dalawa. Glass and aluminum. And I am going to put them under the heat of the sun. Ano yung mas mainit afterwards? Ang glass or ang aluminum? May I ask? Shan. Shan, are you there? Shan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ano yung mas mainit afterwards, Shan? Ang glass or ang aluminum?
Glass, sir.
Okay, glass. Very good. Kasi ano nga yung relationship, Shan? Asa na po si Shan? Shan? Na-Shan ka na, Shan?
Hello?
Yes, Shan.
Ano to, sir?
Ano nga yung relationship? Direct or inverse?
Inverse, sir.
Inverse. Okay, very good. So, ibig sabihin, kapag mas maliit ang specific heat, mas mabilis mag-heat up. Okay, very good. So, napakainit ni glass. Mas mainit si glass compared kay aluminum after some time. Okay, nakuha? Now, what if silang lahat? Okay, itong lahat. From glass, gold, iron, copper, silver, brass, aluminum, water. Silang lahat ilalagay ko sa refrigerator. Okay, ilalagay ko silang lahat sa refrigerator. After some time, magbugnaw sila. But which object will be the coldest? Asan sa kanila yung pinakamalamig after some time? Ang glass, gold, iron, copper, silver, brass, aluminum, water. Anyone?
Gold.
Isa pa na answer. Oh, cute man tayo.
Krish.
Ay, si Krish.
No, sir, no, cute, no. Ang
Yeah.
gold, sir.
Yes, Krish. So gold. Very good. So gold ang pinakamalamig. Bakit, Krish?
Kasi siyang may pinakamaliit na specific heat, sir.
Okay, very good. Gold followed by, after gold, ano yung susunod, Krish?
Silver.
Silver. Yes, silver. And then after silver,
Brass.
brass. And then
Copper.
copper.
Iron.
Copper, iron, glass, and then aluminum. And then, tama ba ko? 4. Ay, duha rin ka book 5. So 6 dapat ni. 7 and then water. Okay? So even though hindi natin yan i-try, hindi natin yan i-experiment, alam natin based on their specific heat na ang pinaka malamig afterwards si gold. Okay? The same is true kapag ilagay natin yan sa under the heat of the sun. Ang pinaka mainit afterwards si gold pa din. So there is a reason behind the value of water. Kindly consider water, for example. If you look at the common substances, si water ang pinakamatagal mag-change ang temperature. Tama, no? Pinakamatagal mag-init, pinakamatagal din maglamig. What do you think is the reason behind? So imagine if the specific heat of water is the same as the gold. So ibig sabihin, napakadali niyang uminit. Gamay lang init during summer days. Ang ocean natin nag-boil kasi napakadali mag-change ang temperature. Or during winter, kasi napakabilis lumamig, dali ra kayo mag-freeze. Do you follow? Ayan. So there is a reason behind kung bakit water has the highest specific heat. Para matagal siya mag-change ng temperature. Matagal siya mainit, matagal din siya lumamig. Do you follow? Because if the value is not 1, then life would cease to exist. Okay? Wala, patay tang tanan. Question so far?
Sir,
Yes, Jo.
ang specific heat po, sir, is related po yan sa density. Yeah?
Related sa
Densities po.
density?
Opo.
Hindi Jo. Different yung property natin ng density. Remember density? Density is equal to mass over volume. So iba sila na property, Jo. Kasi in physics kasi we describe the different properties of the object. So ano yung property niya in terms of density? Iba yung property na yon. Ano yung property niya in terms of expansion? So coefficient yon. Ano yung property niya in terms of ability to change temperature? So another property yon siya. So iba yun sila na property, Jo.
Pero ang densities po nila, sir, nag-apply din po ng factor to know the specific
Sa?
heat po.
Dito sa equation natin, Jo, walang density na nakalagay. Pero dito ang mass, pwede man natin ang mass i-convert natin into density, di ba? So mass can be anong tawag niyan, di ba? Density is equal to mass over volume. So that means mass is equal to density times V. So pwede mag-matter pa din siya sa specific heats because mass could be calculated in terms of its density. So mag-matter pa din. Okay? Ayun. So lahat related lang naman lahat ng mga properties natin. Okay? So nakuha na yung concept natin ng specific gravity, specific heat of common metal. So yung ibig sabihin, again, uulitin ko, kapag maliit yung specific heat natin, ibig sabihin, mabilis mag-change ang kanyang temperature. Mabilis mag-change ang kanyang temperature. Kapag anong tawag niyan, malaki yung specific heat, ang ibig sabihin nun, mas matagal mag-change ang kanyang temperature. Nakuha? Ayun. So I hope klaro na yung concept natin sa specific heat. So let us apply the concept of specific heat in real life. For example, kanina tinanong ko, bakit kaya during daytime, mas mainit si sand? Okay, for example, sa beach, bakit mas mainit ang sand kaysa sa sea water during daytime? Excuse me. However, during nighttime, mas mainit ang sea. Okay? Mas mainit yung water. That is why mas pipiliin natin magstay lang sa water during nighttime. Tapos pagawas nimo sa water, kay magkurog-kurog na ka, no? Tama, no? Kay bugnaw kayo outside. But the water itself is warmer. For example, swimming pool, mas init ang swimming pool. Except kung mangihi, wala untay mangihi. Basig ang kainit tungod sa ihi. Okay. So, but in nature, mas mainit talaga yung water during nighttime. Bakit kaya? What's the reason? So let us try to compare the specific heat. What is the specific heat of water? Alam natin ang specific heat ng water is 1 calorie per gram Celsius degree. That's the specific heat of water. How about land? Unsa ang specific heat sa land? Kindly search daw unsay specific heat sa land ug unsay specific heat sa sand. Unsay specific heat nila. Kay dili na ako magamit ang cellphone kay nakagamit siya as camera. Unsay nag-search, palihog kog search, unsay specific heat sa land? Ug specific heat sa yes, Emil?
Ang answer kay 0.290.
Okay, 0.290. Ano unit, Emil?
Celsius, sir.
Sa sand. Unsay unit?
G Celsius, sir.
Grams per Celsius degree. Okay? How about land? Isa nag-search sa land. May naka-search sa land. Unsay specific heat sa land? Wala? Kasi naka-specific. Wala naka-search. Kasi gonna be,
Saan yan, sir?
ha?
Saan po na land?
Land.
Less than 1, sir.
Less than 1 ang nakalagay.
Less than 1.
Yes, sir.
Less than 1 lang ang nakalagay. So it's less than 1 calorie per gram Celsius degree. So that's on the average. Less than 1. Pero si sand, hindi natin ma-compare kasi nga joules yan. Ang nasa taas, calorie. So we cannot compare. Hindi natin ma-compare. So we need to convert. Alam niyo na paano mag-convert, no? 1 calorie is equal to 4.186 joules. Tama? Remember pa to, no? Mamana ang paano to sa conversion factor natin sa calorie and ano tawag niyan? And joules. So we need to convert 1 calorie per 4.186 joules para mag-cancel si joules. And that will give us ila. Divide daw. 0.290 divided by 4.186. So that means this is equivalent to 0.0693 calories per gram Celsius degree. Nakuha? So ito, less than 1 calorie per gram Celsius degree. Ito, 1 calorie per gram Celsius degree. Do you follow? Okay, so anong ibig sabihin nito? Mas maliit yung specific heat ni sand. During daytime, ano yung mas mainit? Ang sand na lang itong i-compare. Sand and water. Kaya mo man ang nasa ko ang presentation. Sand and water, although less than 1 man po gihapon si land. Sand and water. Ano yung mas mainit during daytime? Sand or water? May I
Sand.
ask? Yes. Yes, Krish? Mas mainit si?
Sand po, sir.
Sand. Very good. Mas mainit si sand during daytime. That is why during daytime, napakainit ng shore. Okay? Yung mga sand. Magtamak-tamak ka dito. Piting ka. Init kayo. No? Ang beach, init kayo. Okay? So that is during daytime. How about during nighttime? Ano yung mas malamig during nighttime? Of course, the same pa din. Mas malamig si sand. Okay, during nighttime. Mas malamig si sand. That is why during nighttime, mas mainit si water. Mas mainit si water. Kasi nga, matagal siya mag-release ng heat. Matagal mag-change ng temperature si water. Do you follow? Ayun. So that is why, that's the reason behind kung bakit masarap mag-night swimming. Dahil kayo maligo-ligo sa tubig. Basta kayo di lang ka mugawas sa tubig. Kaya bugnaw kayo pag mugawas ka sa tubig. Okay? Question so far? So galing lang yan siya sa equation ng specific heat, ha? Galing lang yan sa equation ng specific heat. Okay? So let us understand one of the common phenomena in nature. For example, na atay island. Okay? Island daw na, island. Ding, ding, ding. Tapos, of course, sa paligid, may sea water. Sea water, sea water. So island ni, butangan ako og kahoy. Island daw na, ha? Ayan. So during daytime, ano yung mas mainit? Mas mainit ang island kasi nga less than 1 man to. So mas mainit ang island, mas mainit ang sand during daytime. So warm air rises during daytime, ha? During daytime, warm air rises and then cold air from the sea pupunta ngayon sa land. Tama? Kasi nga mas mainit si land. Ayun. So that is why if you notice kung nasa beach ka, mapapansin mo na there is a very cold wind from the sea papunta sa land. Di ba? Napakalakas ng hangin galing sa sea papunta sa land. Hangin kayo sa dagat. Okay? So that is because of the difference in their specific heat. And what do you call this wind? Anong tawag dito sa wind neto na galing sa sea papunta sa land. Anong tawag doon? Na-encounter na ninyo ni sa inyong
Sea
natsay ba?
breeze, sir.
This is known as the sea breeze. Ayan. Kasi nga galing siya sa sea. So sea breeze. Okay? Ayun. So mo nang lami kayo kung nakasanap ding dagat kay kusog kay hangin. That's sea breeze. That's because of the difference in their specific heats. Now, during nighttime, mas mainit ngayon si sea. Tama? Mas mainit si sea during nighttime. So, ibig sabihin, warm air rises kasi mas mainit si sea. Warm air rises. Cold air from the land papunta ngayon sa sea. Anong tawag nito? Of course, alam niyo na kung anong tawag.
Land breeze.
Okay, very good. It's land breeze. Tama, no? Kasi nga, galing siya sa land. So, see, galing lang yan siya sa concept ng specific heat and you can already explain different natural phenomena. Question so far?